Hi everybody, my name's Jamie, and today we're going to be exploring my favorite Berlin U Bahn line, the U9. I know this line so well because I live along it, and by the end of this video, you'll be a U9 expert too. For each station, we're going to look at the surrounding neighborhoods, the nearby landmarks, and of course, tips and tricks for navigating. I remember the day when I started riding the train, getting where I needed to go without checking Google Maps. It felt so empowering and it made me feel like a true Berliner. And that's why I want to share these tricks for getting around with you, as well as an intro to the neighborhoods that the U9 passes through. For each train line, there are 3 levels of knowledge. Level 1 is simple, just knowing the endpoints. If you live in Berlin, it's worth your time to know the endpoints of all 9 of the U Bahn lines. I made a video that does this, which I will link to in the description. Level 2 is knowing all of the connecting stops along a given line. This is worthwhile to memorize if you live on that line or commute along it frequently. Level 3, if you're crazy like me, is knowing every stop on the line. But don't worry, I've done that for you. So now you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The U9 goes from Rathaus-Steglitz in the south to Osloer Strasse in the north. There are 18 stops in total, 9 of which connect to other train lines. The U9 passes through 8 different city districts, each with its own distinct character. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive in. First stop, Rathaus-Steglitz. Like the name says, our first stop is in the heart of the Steglitz shopping district. The station has an underground connection to the iconic Rathaus, or City Hall, which contains a library and a shopping center. There's this cool plaza across the street, Hermann-Ehrlerplatz, where people like to hang out, and there's this great Sunday open market that they have, which sells produce, which can be really helpful if you forgot to shop on Saturday night. There's also a connection to the S1 train line, a short walk across this pedestrian-unfriendly intersection. Next up, Schlossstrasse. The most recognizable thing you'll see on Schlossstrasse is this abandoned eyesore of a building called the Bierpinsel. Once a restaurant, once a nightclub, now abandoned, this building has been perplexing residents for decades. It's currently selling for 3.2 million euros, so if anybody wants to open up a nightclub in West Berlin, now's the time. Just in case you forgot to shop at our last stop, Schlossstrasse connects to 2 shopping centers. Yes, Steglitz is where you can shop all day without ever seeing the sun. The train station itself is a work in progress, split into 2 levels. When boarding, I highly recommend you follow signs for Schildhohenstrasse. To make exiting to Schildhohenstrasse a little bit easier, I recommend you surf your way to the back of the train. That way you'll disembark on the right side of the platform. Our next stop, Walter-Schreiber-Platz, will bring us into the district of Frida, a small, densely populated district with shopping galore. Like the previous 2 stops, it is connected to yet another shopping center. This one's called the Schlossstrassen Center, and another one right across the street called Forum Steglitz. Berlin has great street food, but you'd be hard-pressed to do better than the nearby Zayem Falafel. Is the shopping out of your system yet? Our next stop is a little more chill. From here, the U9 breaks away from Schlossstrasse and heads up north along Bundesallee. Next stop, Friedrich Wilhelmplatz. This is an unassuming station situated in a quiet neighborhood. You can recognize Friedrich Wilhelmplatz by the striking evangelical church nearby. I wouldn't tell you to stop here unless you wanted to play basketball or drink a beer on the church steps, as seems to be trendy here. But honestly, there are much better places to do that. Shall we move on? Before I bring you to the next stop, we need to talk about the Ringbahn. The Ringbahn is a set of elevated train lines that circle the Berlin city center, going in both directions. You can go clockwise with the S41 and go counterclockwise with the S42. These S-Bahn train lines only come every 10 minutes as opposed to every 5 minutes for the U-Bahns, so you might want to run to catch your next connection. Making hasty connections is always a good idea, and nowhere is that more true than our next stop, Bundesplatz. I'm not joking, people. If you want to make this connection from the U9 to the Ringbahn, you need to run. Better yet, surf your way to the back of the train, and when the doors open, I want you to sprint out of there like a racer. You're going to have to run up 2 flights of escalator stairs, but by the end, you'll be the winner who just catches the Ringbahn train instead of these other less lively riders who get left in the dust. Bundesplatz marks the beginning of the Wilmersdorf District, which contains a hidden gem that I'm going to tell you about on our next stop. Berliner Strasse. Berliner Strasse pops out on Bundesallee. You know you're there when you see this Eurogida, a pretty great Turkish market with over-enthusiastic produce vendors. My favorite thing about Berliner Strasse is that you're only a short walk away from Volkspark Wilmersdorf. This is an absolute treasure of a park that you won't read about in any top 10 lists. Check it out. You're welcome. Perhaps most importantly about Berliner Strasse is this is where the U9 connects to the U7, an important stop that will take you to places like Neukölln or the trendy Kreuzberg-Bergmann-Kies district. Pro tip, when you're connecting from the U7 to the U9, I'm not joking, run or you might miss the last U9 train home. One short stop north is Gunstelstrasse. You know you're at Gunstelstrasse when you see this big yellow ADAC sign. I can't tell you what ADAC does, but it's a minor stop with no connections, so I think it's safe for us to blaze ahead to our next stop, which kind of has a connection, depending on how you define connection. Located in the Bavarian quarter of Wilmersdorf, Spichenstrasse is in the eye of the storm, so to speak. There's not so much going on directly here, but there's lots of cool things nearby. For example, you're only a 9-minute walk away from the beautiful Victoria-Luise-Platz. And having to walk is something of a theme here on Spichenstrasse, because you also have to get out and walk above the ground in order to access the U3 connection. Moving north, we are now entering the district of Shelatenburg, the former center of divided West Berlin. If shopping is what you still crave, Kurfürstendamm is a great place to start. But from here on out, we're going to call it Kuhdamm like a real Berliner. The most noteworthy thing is this partially bombed and preserved Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, and even more glaringly, the hideous church they built next to it. This structure is, to put it dryly, not to everyone's liking. I spent years actually believing it was a parking garage. In fairness, it looks a little bit better with the lights low, but don't we all? The next stop is a mere stone's throw away at Zoologischer Garten, sometimes called Zoo. Can you guess what the nearest landmark is? Even if you skip the zoo, this is a great access point to walk along the Landwehr Canal or venture deeper into the massive Tiergarten. Zoo is a major train station that not only connects to the U2 U Bahn, but also a number of regional trains, and a special S-Bahn line that I want you to know about called the Stadtbahn. In its essence, the Stadtbahn is a series of S-Bahn lines that will take you from east to west through the center of Berlin, stopping at major train stations like Hauptbahnhof, Brandenburger Tor, Hackischer Markt, and more. You'll never be waiting long at the Stadtbahn platforms, though, because there are actually 4 train lines, the 3, 7, 5, and 9 if you must know, that all follow along on the same exact track, at least while you're inside of the ring. All you really need to know when you're at the platform is whether you want to go east or west. And here's a trick that will help you get oriented in a snap. Eckner starts with an E. E for Eckner. Eckner is in the east. And Westkreuz, well, like the name says, takes you west. So now that you're ready to rock the Stadtbahn, I think it's safe for us to move on to our next stop. Crossing over the Landwehr Canal, one stop north is Hanzaplatz, located in the Hansaviertel, the smallest district in Berlin. There isn't too much happening here, but there is a letter museum, and the loudest church bells you've ever heard. Inside this modest shopping arcade is a modest train station that has no connections. So, shall we move on? Now, we're crossing over the Spree River into Moabit district, where radically different sides of Berlin coexist. Welcome to Turmstrassem. The best thing about Turmstrasse has to be Arminus Market Hall, this beautifully renovated, hipster-friendly marketplace with international fine cuisine and novel offerings like poutine. But then, right across the street, you have the Kleiner Tiergarten, which is a nice enough park, but it has a bad reputation that I can attest to. It's a bit of a hangout spot for junkies who can get rowdy at times. I'm not here to judge, but I am here to be honest when I say, don't take kids here. If you're wondering why all the drugs, our next stop might explain that. A couple blocks north brings us to Berkenstrasse, an easy enough to miss train stop which only has 2 entrances and no connections. The most noteworthy thing nearby is Berkenstube, which is a clinic that allows drug users to use in a safe environment. This is a great concept that has surely saved lives. But then, right across the street, we have one of the quarters, this futuristic co-living space for young professional expats getting started in Berlin. Like Moabit has shown us, whether you're a techie or a junkie or anything in between, Berlin's got something for you. Our last stop in Moabit is our last stop before we leave the ring. Welcome to Vesthofen. This stop is located in an industrial area that is not particularly pedestrian friendly. In my mind, Vesthofen is most notable as an access point, the northern access point where the U9 meets the Ring Bahn. If you do get out and walk along the bridge, you will find the Pulitzbrücke Deportation Memorial commemorating the 32,000 Jewish citizens who were rounded up here by the Nazis and deported to the concentration camps. Across the shipping canal to the north is the district of Wedding, where our next stop is am Wilmersdorf. The most noteworthy thing is the massive Charité Campus Virchow Clinic, a massive hospital complex with 57 individual buildings and 2,000 beds. Our next stop is the one, the only, the unavoidable Leopoldplatz. Most importantly, Leo is where the U9 meets the U6. Most unfortunately, Leopoldplatz is a great place to watch a bum fight. For some reason or another, this station is where drunks like to drink, hang out, and harass passers-by. I've never had a normal connection here that wasn't in some way disturbing. More than anywhere else along the U9, Leopoldplatz is where I want you to be on your guard, especially at night. But on the positive side, if you head outside of the station on a Saturday, you'll find a really great flea market that has lots of produce and crafts. Our next and last stop in Wedding is Naunerplatz. I'm going to be real with you, Naunerplatz is just a regular old stop in Berlin. You go outside, you'll find a playground, Spätis, Döner Kebab. What really stands out about Naunerplatz is the beautiful design of the station platform, which is fabled to be based on the colors of the French flag. And now, we move onward to the end station of our U9 journey. Osloer Strasse is the final stop, located in the Gesundbrunnen district with a nearby sport complex. If you're like most U9 dwellers, Osloer Strasse is best known as the place where you connect with the U8 to get into Mitte. It is strange that we leave the ring only to re-enter the ring on another line, but that's how things work out sometimes. When you see the Norwegian flag on the wall, you know you're at the end of the line and it's time to make your next connection. Hurry! Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That will help get this video in front of other great people like you. Now it's time for a question. What is your favorite Berlin train line and why? Let me know down below. See you next time.